Today's headline is Shark and Swordfish, yarn of the bold skipper of a Connecticut fishing smack. The subheadline says, he harpooned the swordfish, but the shark snapped up a large share of the prize. The Hattie J. Hamlin swordfish catch. This article was originally reported from Stonington on August 25th. It says, the smart Yankee smack, Maddie and Lena, professional swordfish hunter of this ancient ocean port, had great luck on her latest trip, cruising on the hither edge of the Gulf Stream, 40 miles southward, and besides, she had a most extraordinary encounter with a mammoth shark. The Maddie and Lena had captured 14 big, handsome, fat swordfish and was about ready to turn her prow homeward, but Captain Clark said he must have one more monster just for luck. So we cruised a few hours longer over the fair summer sea. Then suddenly, the lookout cried, "Hey ho, ho!" and he followed it up with some directions in the marine vernacular about the location of the game, drowsing in Wanted Swordfish Way, his dorsal fin just cutting the surface of the ocean not a quarter of a mile away. The smack bounded swiftly over the billows in a stiff breeze, stealthily creeping on the sleeping fighter who never stirred, and in gallant style, the captain, mounted in his iron harpooner's pulpit at the tip of the bowsprit, partly rounded his craft to, and drove his steel shaft into the big fish with keen true stroke. Then the dozing Leviathan woke up. He woke up all over, said Captain Clark, telling his story later to his landlubber friends on the Great Wars in Stonington. He rushed right out of the sea, he continued. If a submarine volcano had exploded underneath him, you couldn't have kicked up a bigger rumpus of white-capped brine and foam, and I saw at once that we had harnessed a fighter of the first class. But big and ugly as he was, I had him laced as tight as you please, and felt perfectly sure of him. But you can't always tell. Just about the moment that I had made up my mind that I had him dead to rights, along came another fellow who was out hunting too. That confounded shark, who no doubt had an idea he wanted my game a good deal more than we did. Well, added the captain with a sigh, he just simply took him too. Took him so quickly, so easily, with such confounded impudence, we scarcely know how it all happened. How big was that shark? Well, that's the question, but he was big enough. In fact, he must have been just about as big as the swordfish, and that was a 400-pounder. He wasn't an inch less than 16 feet long, and when he opened his ugly jaws, it was exactly like spreading the legs of an old-fashioned pair of waffle irons. Then he shut up again like a jackknife, and our number one, father of all swordfish, went along with the jaws. Note, to state the exact truth, he didn't get away with quite all of them, but he snipped off the swordfish's big head, sword and all, and he got a good share of his shoulders too. And off he went with that dinner of a whole boat's crew, with a great rush and splash, gulping down his prey. We took what was left, of course, and mighty glad we were to get that, as well as get back our harpoon head and lance, which were sticking out of the remainder of the game. However, it might have been better for us if the shark had even buttoned on to the prickly part of our swordfish pincushion, for had he bolted harpoon and lance, we could have bagged the wicked cuss too, unless his sharp teeth had cut the lance line in two. But we were quite ready to part company with the shark on even terms, as we did, for he was one of the biggest man-eaters ever encountered in North Atlantic waters. Captain Clark and his crew are the oldest and most experienced sword fishermen of the southern New England coast, while his craft is champion of the swordfish fleet. And he and his seamen unite in saying that the shark and swordfish episode is the strangest one of the kind in the annals of ocean fishing. The boldness of the shark was unexampled, since the swordfish was within a few yards of the smack's side when he pounced on the game. No one ever heard of a shark attacking a swordfish before, because as a rule, the two fish, who are the most formidable predatory rovers of the ocean, dreaded by all other fish, mutually respect each other's prowess and piratical vocation. They are apt to evade each other, each keeping himself strictly within his own hunting preserve. In Captain Clark's opinion, the shark reasoned the holding out in this way, that the swordfish was helpless, in some way disabled or curiously shackled. In fact, said the captain, the chap waited about making his attack until the swordfish had ceased to struggle much, then just in the nick of time, when men were about to begin the task of pulling him on board, he lit on him. Of course, the waters of the Gulf Stream abound all the time with sharks, and we frequently espy them, sometimes in schools, when we're on the chase of swordfish, but we never had one attempt to meddle with our business before. He must have been awfully hungry. The season has been a wonderfully fine one for sword fishing, particularly off the southern New England coast, and the Boston and Providence marketmen greedily gobble up all the fish taken. They find a ready market at good prices in all down east towns and villages, especially among the farmers. It's idle to try to sell swordfish steaks, though, in the New York markets. The most successful trip after the great fish of this or any other season was that of the lively little smack Hattie J. Hamlin last week, which sails weekly from quaint little Noack on a knoll looking seaward a few miles alongshore west of Old Stonington Borough. The Hattie Hamlin was gone from Noack only 7 days and broke all records in respect to the number of swordfish captured by her. She bagged just 66 fish that averaged 300 pounds each. With this opulent marine harvest piled high on her decks, her crew fairly bubbling with delight and pecuniary satisfaction, the Hattie came dancing into little old Noack, with horns blowing and seamen shouting in token of their wonderful fortune. All the villagers thronged about the smack when she had been tied up to her wharf, gaping incredulously at a mound of swordfish, and her captain was a hero, with everybody clapping him on the shoulders. No wonder the Noackers could hardly believe the evidence of their own eyesight, since a catch of a dozen swordfish on a cruise is considered to be a very likely one all along the coast. The Hattie's captain and crew sold their harvest for just $1,200, a little fortune to them, and all that money was divided equally among them. The next best catch of swordfish ever scored was that of a far down east boat years ago, it being 56 in number. This story came from the great state of New York, being reported in the Sun of September 2nd, 1894. Thank you for joining us today. If you want to continue to uncover all of America's lost and forgotten history, then remember before you leave to hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and remember to like and comment below. And we will see you next time on Americana Archives.